in the room.
Okay, awesome. Amy, we did it. We did it. We finally did it. So sorry for everyone that joined the live that was like a complete failure, but here we are. And I'm so excited to ask questions to Amy. I'm sitting actually in the room where I gave birth twice, and this is our little hub.
Mm.
So it's super cool.
Yeah.
So Ames, I wanted to ask you for those that don't know you yet, can you just tell us what drew you to becoming a doula?
That's kind of easy because it was becoming a mum myself. That was I had no previous thoughts about this world before I became a mum myself. Like I always knew I wanted to be a mum, and I kind of thought, yeah, that journey to becoming a mum was deep, I think, as it is for many people. Um, and then it was really like walking through a portal of discovery in so many ways. And yeah, it kind of woke up a calling inside me to be in this world and to support and love families. And that's kind of grown and evolved with time. Um, I think before I was in my 20s, I was living in London and I was partying hard and my life was kind of fun. But I always had a sort of deep yearning for to contribute something meaningful. But I didn't like have any kind of landing. I didn't have any it had no legs really, no grounding. But there was a desire for that in my heart. Um um so in that sense the seed was there, but I didn't have a it didn't have like a channel, and then becoming a mother kind of woke that up.
Oh wow.
So that was what it was.
I
Yeah.
can relate to that. Becoming, going through birth, I think wake up all of these questions about having, a mission in life. So I completely relate to that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, so what's a textbook definition of a doula? Like, what would you say, a doula does?
But when people ask me,
Yeah, like
what's a doula?
because I mean, lots of people don't know what a doula is. Like, I have a friend that's like,
Yeah.
"What's a doula? Can you remind me?" And I'm like, okay, so can you like say it maybe in a few words? I don't know.
I think that doulas have always been alongside midwives. So originally, so the English word for gossip comes from an old English word, go godsip, which were the women who gathered alongside the midwife to support a woman who was giving birth. Obviously, in medieval Europe, those women were quite just in their being nature, were quite, um, they challenged the power structures of society, and hence why the word gossip now has derogatory meaning, because those women that gathered to support other women when they were giving birth knew stuff. There was power and there was knowledge there that was counter to the structures of the patriarchy, if you like. But doulas, so I think doulas have always existed, in terms of there have always been women in community who've gathered. So it's not that a doula is, kind of like I think the idea that a doula is a less midwife is wrong. I think that's coming from a kind of hierarchical, like top-down medicine, Western medicine kind of paradigm, where we see, like, for example, in the NHS, where the consultant is the top and, you're like, there's a definite hierarchy. I don't think, and it's not, I don't think the doula role kind of fits into that. So doulas are kind of have always walked alongside, and that we're here to provide practical help, emotional support, spiritual support, and today lots of signposting as well. So like give information. Um, so yeah, I guess the signposting that women did in olden times would have been different, but
No,
Maybe it was always part of the role.
I mean, I love what you said about gossip. I never thought of it that way. I would see this word differently
Mm.
now. And I think it's also about like I imagine witnessing as well, someone witnessing
Yeah,
your journey and knowing a bit about you, about what your background and getting to know you and holding that space in some sort of way.
yeah,
It goes so far
yeah. I think
that you
it's
almost have you need someone to see and to remember with you.
to see you.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's a really powerful thing. And also the other thing to say about gossip, we know that women talking together brings oxytocin. That's it's actually a powerful physiology of women gathering. We know that our oxytocin level, and for women, oxytocin is the hormone that will trump all and will rebalance all other hormones. So it's like actually the gathering and being together is so good for our well-being, but it's derided as like this. That's one thing. So a doula will be with you and will help through that relationship, through that love and friendship and sisterhood and siblinghood, will help create oxytocin, which is great for the mother and the baby, and for the father or the other parent. Um, that oxytocin is foundational for a good birth. And then the other part about witnessing that you said, I totally agree. In fact, I was talking to a woman who'd given birth last week. I'd supported her and her partner with some antenatal preparation, and she had on paper a very sort of successful physiological birth, that one she wanted, but she felt very unsupported um, by the sister. She went to a birth center to give birth because of the lack of witnessing.
Mm.
Because there was no one to. She didn't really need anything. Like that. She had a partner. I'm sure he was amazing, but so is this like witnessing is a very powerful social function that has really profound physiological, mental, and emotional support. I think Kimberly Ann Johnson talks about birth as this. I mean, she's referencing another anthropologist whose name I can't remember, so I apologize. She talks about how birth is like a psychedelic rite of passage, and that in many cultures around the world, the part of going to out of the community to have your rite of passage, whether that's as a young person or at any point, that kind of going out and experiencing something. That the important part is the coming back and being witnessed by the community and
Mhm.
having some place to integrate. And when you have a doula alongside you, because there's a continuity that's sometimes missing in other forms of support, that witnessing becomes a powerful tool, not just during the pregnancy and the labor and the birth, but then coming home to yourself, and that integration, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
see that. I completely understand what you mean. It's so nice. It almost feels like witnessing is a link. It helps link our
Yeah.
story as women as well. And I
Yeah.
like now, like before the medical system, I would imagine like doulas were part of the community. They were just women that witnessed and that knew about birth. But now
Yeah.
it's all it's a bit broken
Fragmented.
down. You
Yeah.
kind of need to bring back that wisdom and hopefully one day our role would be merged within the communities and it would just
Yes.
yeah it's kind of
Yes. Totally. Yeah, I think that cohesive. I mean, they talk in trauma healing about the importance of creating, that having a cohesive inner narrative is part of healing trauma. And when we have a sort of fragmented sense of inner self, that's quite a dislocating experience. And being in relationship is part of how we can we can have that internalized sense of cohesion.
yeah, yeah,
So yes.
I like that. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you more questions about specifically the training developing
Mm.
does. I mean, how, what does it take to certify a doula? And, just if you talk a bit about the training, about,
Yeah.
um, what does it, why is it different from other trainings, or is it similar, or what do doulas that come out of developing doulas experience, um, and who are the type of people that join, maybe something like that.
Mm. So, the like really, doulaing is a lay profession. So no one needs to like many people come on the course who've already doulaed, they've all and friends have invited them to their births or they've been to their sister births, for example. Other people come on the course who they're not mums yet and they've never been to a birth, but something's awakened in them an interest in birthing and they're, still in their maiden, but they're very cool to kind of come and train. So um yeah, in terms of it, because it's this walking alongside and we're definitely not medical, that's a quite a distinct difference, and legally that's an important distinction to make. But um maybe about 25 years ago, some doulas got together and kind of decided, to create a community and a network, and that's how Doula UK was born. So this it's a membership organization. And people may have heard about it, but it's not a regulatory body, and it has lots of good things going for it and some things that are tricky about it. But we will not sidetrack into that conversation.
Yeah.
So, certification is a kind of self-appointed thing within the doula community, and developing doulas provide a preparation course to give you a kind of foundational understanding of the role and the physiology, birth physiology and breastfeeding physiology, and the role of a doula, so that you can start your work, and it will give you a sense of community and connection. And then from that place, everyone is encouraged to have a mentor or companion, to have their one-to-one relationship with another more experienced doula. Um, and you go through a process with that person, and then, for some people it takes 1 year, maybe for other people it might take a couple of years, depends how many clients you get and what speed you go through. And then the language that we kind of talk about recognized doulas in Doula UK, or in developing doulas we have another system to support women through that. We call them acknowledged. So there's a sort of a framework in place. You do the 5 days of training, then you take a kind of, you have a mentoring relationship, and that, that there's because when it's, there's no deadline for
Hmm.
any of that.
Yeah.
It's a very self-directed journey. Um, so that's kind of the framework. Um, we invite doulas to do some like post-course homework, but it's very
Hmm.
people submit poems for that or make a video, or some people will write an essay, and someone else might make a poster. So it's just a way to show, I've taken something from the course, an area of interest, and I've developed my idea around that. I've researched it a bit more. And then we encourage all of the doulas that come to the developing doulas training to go out into their community and report back on something that's happening in their community, or some networking event that they've been to. Could be going to a yoga class, could be meeting and going with a hypnobirthing teacher. But just we encourage our doulas that train with us to really embed in the community that they're in. So yeah, so that's kind of like the process. So there's the 5 days of in-person training. Um, our course that we're hosting and running together is going to take place over 5 weekends. Is that right? Yes. Saturday and half days on Sundays. And we cover on the course.
Oh, sorry, not 5. It's a bit less, but
Yeah, it's 5 Saturdays and 5 half Sundays,
yeah.
which make up. Is that right? No,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
being bad with math.
So there's
Three, yes. Oh my God.
six in
Three, and
total.
then yeah,
3 weeks, but six meetings.
6 sessions. Yeah.
Sessions.
Sorry, that's me with my terrible maths. And we cover the first kind of 2 days really are a lot around um kind of unpacking and critical thinking around the way language is used, the way we listen, the way our stories hold us together, the way how what is evidence, what's evidence-based information, what are the problems with that, what are the better good things about that. And then we spend a whole day on birth, um, and how to support birth and what that looks like. And then we spend a whole day talking about postnatal support. And then the last day is really about kind of practical next steps. Where do we go from here? How, the coursework, the mentoring. Do you need a website? All of those sort of practical things, contracts, those kinds of things we cover on the last day. So it's a foundation. I think being a doula is a lifelong learning. Every client will teach you something new. You're going to meet other doulas who will teach you stuff. You will read books. You will go on courses.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it ever stops. So this is a preparation for your work. Yeah, is that a good
That's an amazing, I
explanation?
think that's an amazing explanation. It gives an overview about everything. I love what you said about like the importance of going out into your community and feeding back into developing doulas. I love that. And I'm excited for the assessment. I don't know. It all sounds very exciting. And I mean, we talked about the training and everything, and for aspiring doulas, um, what would you say to someone who feels the call to birth work, but is kind of scared to take that first step?
Mm,
And yeah, I think, yeah, just what could be that, because you're saying that for you, it was when you became a mother that you knew that you wanted to do that work, but it doesn't apply to only, you know, mothers, maidens can be just the most amazing
yeah,
doulas and
yeah.
they might
And I would say that seems to be increasing. Um, and I think that is a positive thing of social media, actually, that because the number of the first training that I ever ran for developing doulas in 2021, I think it was, or 2020, I can't remember. Yeah, 2021. It was all women who hadn't had babies. It
Mm,
was amazing. I was like, wow. And it was so fascinating to hear. Like some probably weren't going to have babies, and some maybe were young and maybe would have babies. Um, yeah, I think there's because of the democratization of information, people are finding out about birth in more variety of ways now than maybe previously. So yeah, you don't have to be a mother. That I know lots of amazing doulas who are not mothers, and yeah, but I do think it is. I think any big change is scary, and I think supporting doulas to kind of take those first steps is always really important. People, have lots of like imposter syndrome of like, I don't know enough, which is normally never the case. Or can be fears around like, kind of the business side or the practical
yeah.
side, and hopefully we speak to all of that on the course. And I think the thing to remember is doulaing can look really different for different people, right? So the woman who introduced us, Car, she is a great doula. She does not work as a doula, you know. She's, she stayed pretty much in her job, her money job, her job that she was doing in the city. But she is a great doula. She signposts to people left, right, and center that she comes across who are pregnant. She, will support informally her friends. people she comes across, right? So that's one. She's definitely a doula. She's doing it. She's putting the good information out there. She's helping people. Other people will doula, maybe they'll have one or two clients a year, and they do it alongside whatever other love, their mothering work or their other passion project or their other job, whatever they're doing. And then for other women, it's like, no, that it feels like, they will make that their main source of income, and or they'll work doing that plus some other kind of related work. Lots of people maybe, do things like have a business that does infant massage, or they also are a breastfeeding consultant, or, so there's so many different ways to create a life that's right for you, from this work. And it's not a one size fits all, and there's no rules. It's really about, like, what does my heart say, and how do I follow that
Mm.
calling to support birth in this way. And for some people come and do the training, and actually it's because they're pregnant and they want a really deep understanding. Some people come and do the training because it's actually a great way for them to process their own birth experiences. Um, you know, people come off the course saying it's like the best therapy they've ever had,
No.
because it speaks so deeply to this really important time. Um, so for some people, it's a way to understand more deeply the complexity of the healthcare system. Midwives come and do the training, and it's not that they're going to stop being midwives, but they want to kind of reconnect with this essence part of the work.
Yeah, I love that. I love all the variety of characters that can join that course. Yeah, there's
Yeah, like we had a women who come because their daughter's pregnant and they
yes,
want to be there for their daughter, that kind
I
of
love
thing,
that.
you
I
know?
would love, I mean, that would be so amazing. Like a mom that maybe has gone through a difficult birth herself and she wants to kind of learn and support her daughter without like
Mm,
without
and
without
something positive.
projecting on her or something. I love that. And Ames, in terms of like deeper kind of reflection. I know that with me, the my favorite thing about having you as my doula is the way you read energies and the way you kind of were here almost like as a healer for Johnny and I. Like you really tapped into what was like in our minds and you kind of put it into words in such a natural way. Like I'd love to know about how you use energy and how you hold space for difficult decisions and also a space
Mm.
for maybe trauma, loss, unexpected
Mm.
outcomes. Yeah,
It's a great question. So for me, I think the thing when it kind of initiated me, like the birth of my daughter, and then it kind of woke up, like this inside me, it was like it woke up lots of like yeses, and for me, birth work is kind of political and social, and it's deeply spiritual. And so I think my initiation into motherhood also accelerated my spiritual opening. Um, and it was the year after I trained as a doula, I met my spiritual teachers and began my kind of so simultaneously it's like my birth work was happening, and then I was kind of studying very deeply and in a very kind of home based way, um to understand the energy body, understand my soul, my body, my emotions, and my relationship to the divine, or the holding of this universal field of unconditional love. And for me, there's that has informed the way I doula, and it informs the way I teach, and it informs the way I live and parent. And they I think the thing that is always so, for me, birth is so ordinary and so miraculous. You can't. It's like I woke up this morning and a doula friend of mine was sharing a story of a birth she had just been at overnight. And I texted her at like 9:30 and sent her love, I'm sending you love, thinking of you tonight. And she told me and our other doula friend this story of total miracle. The woman was about to sign C-section papers and then went into labor and birthed her baby in a pool. Like there is like that's kind of a miracle beyond. There's so many things at play in that story, but every birth is so ordinary and so miraculous. Like it just is so awe-inspiring. So when thank you for saying what you said about the space holding and being there for hard decisions and putting into words things that are kind of deep inside. And I do feel like that is part of at least how I doula, to kind of hold that sacred. It's happening anyway, right? But when we consciously attune to that sacred energy, it will amplify it. So, and that feels very good, that amplifies that field of holding and love.
And it could
Um,
that be applied as well to like difficult stories of loss and everything, like
yeah,
you know, kind of keep the energy sacred regardless of the outcome
yes,
of the way, kind of have this constant.
yeah, and that's what I always say, like birth is sacred wherever it happens, however it happens. It's not less sacred in a hospital than in a home birth, although, you know, your birth taught me so much about the quality of the energy that's there when birth is very undisturbed, you know, in its purity. So there's something very true about that. But it's also that we live in on in Earth School. We live in where a human being can experience all kinds of polarities, and none of that isn't sacred. So I think for me, showing up for women and birth and the families and birthing people and really honoring the sacred nature of what's happening is really important, and it makes a big, well, I was going to say it makes a big difference. I hope it makes a big difference. It feels like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know that this is one of the things I remember most about you being my doula is this kind of amazing way of like holding, because also birth can be like just after birth, it's a very vulnerable place for like both the new family, like you need to protect that from any other, like they're almost like
Yeah.
a sponge, and
Yes.
you need to kind of sh
Yeah. Energetically, when a woman is birthing and this happen, it's like she becomes a portal. Like it's like no joke, right? It's like actually happening on the last birth that I was at. I really the beautiful woman who was there. I was really there, really as a channel because she had there were other people doing the practical stuff, right? And I was like kind of tuning in and feeling that like her sacral chakra became like um the cosmos. That's how open she was. And so I mean became like it actually was the cosmos. It was so vast I couldn't perceive an edge to that channel to her sacral chakra. Um So, yes, if you have an energetic kind of understanding, and I think doulas, even without lots of training kind of intuitively do understand this opening. And part of what we do is, yes, protect the field, protect the woman and the baby, or the birthing person and the baby. And then also through that postpartum time, it's like, how do we help her close down? How do we help her kind of find her edges again in this new way and integrate the energy that she's transformed in herself to become the mother? It's powerful. And it also happens to the father or the partner of the other parent. They also will go through this huge energetic changes
Yeah.
because the birth energy is so potent. It's like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, amazing, Ames. I love talking. I feel like I want to finish with that kind of energy talk. But yeah, before we close, just some maybe practical and closing questions. Yeah, I think um, let's just finish like that. Okay, what's one message you want every woman or birth keeper listening to remember about the power of birth? And then let's end with that.
Mm, birth is powerful and it is transformative, and within each birth that happens there is the potential energy to change the world. It changes the world of the person birthing, but the ripples are profound. And I really, really believe in the power of creating peace on earth through birth.
Mm.
It's activism, really
Yeah, yeah, I love.
profound activism.
Oh, you made me a bit emotional with what you said. That's okay.
Mm.
But yeah, Ames, I think we've covered everything in terms of what we wanted to talk about. I wish we could have done that live, but hey, it is what it is,
We're
and
here.
we're
We've
here. We're here.
recorded
We
it.
did it. We did it. And that's the important bit, right? Um, okay, cool. Ames, I'm gonna upload this and thank you so much for your time. And
Love you, Lubna.
I love you so much. Okay? I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.